America, land of the free, home of the brave, and absolutely terrified of the number 13, mirrors, and frogs. Behind the confident smiles and backyard BBQs lies a nation haunted by phobias so ridiculous, you'll laugh, cringe, and maybe suddenly remember that weird fear you've been hiding since childhood. We're counting down the top 49 weirdest phobias in the US, and trust me, by the end, you'll feel a lot better about being scared of elevators. Or maybe worse. Let's find out. 1. Phobophobia sounds like a made-up word your brain invents at 3 a.m., but it's very real and ironically terrifying. It's the fear of being afraid. Yep, you heard that right. Imagine living in a constant loop of anxiety, not because something scary is happening, but because you're afraid that you might get scared. For people with this condition, even a minor sense of unease can spiral into full-on panic simply because they dread the feeling of fear itself. It's anxiety inception. And try explaining that to someone who just asked if you're okay in the cereal aisle. No haunted house needed. Your own nervous system is the jump scare. 2. Glossophobia might sound like a fancy term for lip gloss addiction, but it's actually the fear of public speaking. This phobia doesn't care how brilliant your ideas are. Once you're in front of a crowd, your brain hits the emergency eject button. Your palms sweat, your voice shakes, and your inner voice starts chanting, "Abort mission." And here's the kicker. It's one of the most common phobias in the world. More people are terrified of giving a toast than swimming with sharks. So next time you see someone stammering through a wedding speech, just know. They might have preferred actual death over delivering that toast. 3. Globophobia isn't just the fear of balloons. It's the fear of unpredictable explosions in pastel colors. For people with this phobia, party stores are war zones and kids' birthday parties? Torture chambers. It's not just the pop that gets them. It's the suspense. The eerie tension that builds every time a balloon brushes a rough surface or someone gets playfully close with a needle. This fear often starts in childhood, but it can stick around for life. Honestly, if your idea of fun includes floating time bombs, globophobes will kindly RSVP no. 4. Hexacosio-axe conta, hexaphobia, is the fear of the number 666. And yes, the word is just as cursed as the number itself. Rooted in religious superstition, this phobia can cause actual panic when people encounter this numerical combo, be it a hotel room, license plate, or, God forbid, the total on their Starbucks order. Some even go as far as skipping floors or buildings altogether. It's like a mathematical ghost haunting your receipts. And if you think that's irrational, try telling that to the guy who asked the DMV to change his plate because he could feel the devil watching. 5. Thalassophobia isn't just about the ocean. It's the horror of the unknown abyss below. You're floating in water, and everything beneath you is pure black. Your brain whispers, "Something's watching." And it doesn't matter if it's just seaweed. Your imagination's already summoned a kraken. This fear goes beyond sharks or drowning. It's about the vastness, the emptiness, and the primal realization that you're just a snack-sized speck in someone else's buffet. For sufferers, even an image of deep ocean can trigger panic. Aquariums? Nope. Cruises? Forget it. You couldn't even pay them to watch Finding Nemo. 6. Heliophobia is the fear of sunlight. And no, it's not just an excuse for avoiding beach days. For some, even a sliver of daylight can bring on migraines, anxiety, or straight-up panic. We're talking vampire levels of avoidance, except they're not running from garlic, just UV rays. This phobia can make daily life complicated. Blinds stay shut, errands become nocturnal, and SPF 100 is just the beginning. You'd think the sun did something personal. Meanwhile, the rest of us are out here worshipping the weather app and begging for tan lines. 7. Pogonophobia is the fear of beards. And it's no laughing matter, unless your barista looks like a lumberjack. For those affected, facial hair is more than a style choice. It's a full-on anxiety trigger. It could stem from a traumatic encounter with a particularly scruffy chin or just a general aversion to the unknown lurking beneath all that fuzz. Whatever the cause, November is not their favorite month, and the thought of a Santa Claus encounter? Absolute horror show. You don't realize how many beards there are in the world until you're actively dodging them like it's a facial hair apocalypse. 8. Magiricophobia is the fear of cooking. Sounds convenient, right? Except this isn't laziness. It's full-blown dread at the thought of chopping, frying, or even opening the fridge. The kitchen becomes a hostile environment. Every spatula, a potential threat. For some, it's rooted in a fear of poisoning others. For others, it's perfectionism dialed up to 11. This phobia can be isolating and expensive because takeout doesn't grow on trees. It's like Hell's Kitchen in your head. Only Gordon Ramsay is anxiety, and the punishment for undercooked chicken is social collapse. 9. Chromatophobia is the fear of money. Not losing it, money itself. Imagine breaking into a cold sweat every time you see a $20 bill. Paying for groceries? Nightmare. Handling coins? Pure horror. People with this phobia often avoid financial talk, budgeting, or anything involving currency, paper, or digital. And no, this doesn't mean they're immune to capitalism. The anxiety isn't about being broke. It's about the actual physical or conceptual presence of money. In short, Monopoly is not family game night. It's financial trauma simulator. 10. Gamophobia is the fear of marriage. And yes, it's way deeper than commitment issues. For some, it's the idea of lifelong obligation that causes panic. For others, it's the fear of losing independence, being emotionally trapped, or even the wedding itself. Because let's be honest, those speeches are terrifying. It's not always rooted in trauma. Sometimes it's just the pressure of society screaming, "When are you getting married?" That flips the switch. And hey, in a country where divorce parties are a thing, maybe gamophobes are just ahead of the curve. 11. Coprostasophobia, the fear of constipation, might sound like a punchline from a bathroom joke, but it's no laughing matter for those who live with it. This phobia often spirals into obsessive routines, extreme diets, overuse of laxatives, and a suspicious relationship with fiber. It's not just fear of discomfort, it's fear of bodily betrayal. Some sufferers even avoid travel or social situations just to stay close to their safe bathroom. And yes, there are people who could give you a TED Talk on prune juice effectiveness. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just out here hoping for regularity without existential dread. 12. Claustrophobia is one of the best-known phobias, but it's often misunderstood. It's not just about tight elevators or packed subway cars, it's about control. Being stuck with no easy escape sends the brain into panic mode. Even trying on clothes in a small fitting room can trigger it. Some sufferers will walk up 10 flights of stairs just to avoid that 5-second coffin ride in an elevator. And forget about escape rooms. That's not a fun group activity, it's a nightmare simulation. Basically, if you've ever seen someone hyperventilate in a closet, now you know why. 13. Pedophobia, the fear of children, sounds like something invented by people who hate babysitting, but it's a legitimate and often intense phobia. It can be triggered by the unpredictability, noise, or even facial expressions of kids. While others coo over babies in public, pedophobes are calculating their escape route like it's a heist movie. Family gatherings, awkward, school zones, avoided like toxic waste. It's not about disliking kids, it's about feeling genuine anxiety in their presence. And honestly, if you've ever been trapped in a Chuck E. Cheese on a Saturday, you might relate more than you think. 14. Ergophobia is the fear of work. And no, it's not laziness dressed up in medical terms. For those who suffer from it, even the idea of job-related tasks can cause nausea, panic, and dread. It's often tied to performance anxiety, fear of criticism, or past traumatic experiences in the workplace. So next time you hear someone say, "I physically can't deal with my job," they might not be exaggerating. In fact, the phrase, "I need a mental health day," probably started with someone who was just trying to survive a Monday without passing out in a spreadsheet. 15. Coulrophobia, aka the fear of clowns, has skyrocketed in modern times. And you can thank pop culture for that. What started as harmless circus entertainment has morphed into every horror director's go-to nightmare fuel. For some, it's the exaggerated features, the painted-on smile, or just the sheer unpredictability of clowns that triggers terror. And don't even get them started on birthday parties. One look at a clown holding balloons and they're halfway through an escape tunnel. Pennywise didn't help, but let's be honest. Clowns were always kinda creepy. Who smiles that much on purpose? 16. Phobia is the fear of hair. Not just bad hair days, but actual visceral fear. Whether it's loose strands in the shower or hair on someone's clothes, this phobia can cause serious distress. Some sufferers avoid touching their own hair entirely, while others go to extremes like shaving it off to avoid the anxiety. Even wigs or hair on pets can be a trigger. It's not about vanity or style. It's about a physical reaction to something most of us don't think twice about. So the next time you complain about split ends, remember, someone out there is actively panicking over a stray strand. 17. Ablutophobia, the fear of bathing, isn't just a quirky excuse for skipping showers. It's a debilitating condition that can make hygiene feel like torture. For those with this phobia, water isn't relaxing, it's threatening. Bathing routines are avoided, and even washing hands can trigger panic. Unsurprisingly, this can lead to social isolation and serious health issues. But the fear isn't about dirt. It's about overwhelming anxiety tied to a seemingly simple act. And while the rest of us treat shower time like a spa escape, ablutophobes are fighting their own private battle with every drip and drop. 18. Cacophobia, the fear of ugliness, may sound judgmental on the surface, but it goes far deeper. For sufferers, it's not about being mean. It's about experiencing intense discomfort or even panic when confronted with what they perceive as unattractive. That could mean distorted shapes, images, people, or even abstract art. It's linked to deeper issues of control, trauma, or obsessive perfectionism. Basically, it turns the world into a constant aesthetic minefield. And no, they're not being shallow. They're navigating the world through a lens of fear, where beauty isn't skin deep, it's survival. 19. Omphallophobia, the fear of belly buttons, might just win the prize for phobia that makes everyone do a double take. For some, it's the idea of touching one. Others can't even look at them without freaking out. The fear can include both their own and other people's navels. Some sufferers describe it as a physical repulsion, while others associate it with intrusive thoughts or trauma. Crop tops? Pure horror. Beach days? Nightmare fuel. It sounds funny, but to those affected, it's a deeply uncomfortable experience. Who knew something so small could cause such big anxiety? 20. Methophobia is the fear of alcohol, and we're not just talking about avoiding tequila shots on a Tuesday. People with methophobia experience real fear when exposed to alcohol. The sight, the smell, even a bottle on a shelf can trigger a stress response. It's often connected to trauma, health anxiety, or a deep-rooted fear of losing control. While some people romanticize wine o'clock, methophobes are more likely to Google how to neutralize alcohol fumes. And forget about social drinking, they'll be the ones Googling, is ginger ale festive enough, before your holiday party. 21. Xenophobia might sound like just a political buzzword, but it's actually a legit phobia, the fear of strangers or the unknown. And movies don't help. Ever watch a thriller, then side-eye every neighbor for a week straight? That's xenophobia creeping in. For some people, the fear gets so bad, they avoid social situations entirely, convinced that danger hides behind every unfamiliar face. It's not just awkwardness. It's high-alert paranoia that can turn grocery trips into reconnaissance missions. And don't even think about striking up small talk. You're not being friendly. You're obviously part of a plot twist. 22. Nomophobia is the fear of being without your mobile phone. And before you scoff, just check your pulse the next time your battery hits 3% with no charger in sight. This isn't just a Gen Z problem either. Studies show over 80% of people feel some level of panic when disconnected. It's like we've fused with our screens. For some, even the idea of leaving the house phoneless causes chest-tightening dread. Call it dependence, call it modern life. But for those with nomophobia, no service might as well mean impending doom. 23. Dromophobia, the fear of crossing streets, turns the simple act of looking both ways into an emotional crisis. For sufferers, intersections are battlegrounds, and crosswalks are tightropes. The fear might come from past trauma or just a deep sense of vulnerability when stepping into traffic. Either way, even with the walk sign lit up, they're frozen like a deer in headlights. Some will go entire blocks out of their way just to find a pedestrian bridge. Meanwhile, the rest of us are grumbling about jaywalkers, never realizing that to some people, crossing the street is a horror movie in slow motion. 24. Phobia is the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth. And yes, it's a real phobia, not a weird internet meme. For those who suffer from it, that sticky, clinging feeling triggers panic, gag reflex, claustrophobia, even a fear of choking. It's not just about food texture, it's about feeling trapped. So, while you're out there making PB&Js like it's no big deal, others are studying the ingredient list like it's a legal contract. And don't even mention Reese's Cups. It's like suggesting edible glue. Delicious, yes. Terrifying, also yes. 25. Phobia, the fear of being tickled by feathers, sounds like something you'd expect to read in a Roald Dahl book. But it's surprisingly intense for those who have it. It's not just ticklish discomfort, it's a visceral panic response to anything soft and feathery. People avoid down pillows, bird exhibits, and costume shops like they're crawling with tarantulas. Even the word feather boa is enough to send shivers. Imagine your worst fear being hiding in a pillow aisle at Bed Bath & Beyond. For tyrannophobes, that's not just dramatic, it's accurate. 26. Allium phobia, the fear of garlic, turns pasta night into a survival scenario. This isn't about vampire fan fiction, it's real. For those with this phobia, the smell, taste, or even the thought of garlic can trigger nausea, anxiety, or full-on panic. Some avoid restaurants entirely, while others interrogate chefs like food safety inspectors. And don't even try to sneak in just a little. To them, garlic isn't a seasoning, it's a threat. Italians weep, vampires cheer, and sufferers just want a bland, garlic-free life. No drama, just hold the aioli. 27. Chirophobia is the fear of hands. Not dirty hands, not unfamiliar hands. All hands, including their own. This phobia can make basic human interaction feel like a horror show. Handshakes? Nightmare. Holding hands? Forget it. Even gestures can be triggering. Some sufferers avoid mirrors because even seeing their hands move can feel deeply unsettling. It's hard to imagine life without using your hands, but for chirophobes, it's a daily challenge. High fives? Cancelled? Jazz hands? Don't even joke. It's not antisocial. It's pure anxiety with 10 fingers. 28. Astrophobia is the fear of thunderstorms. And no, it's not just about being a little jumpy during a storm. For some, the sound of thunder is like a countdown to doom. Lightning flashes can cause instant panic, heart palpitations, or the urge to crawl under a bed like a cat. Some sufferers sleep in bathrooms during storms. Others obsessively check weather apps and cancel plans if there's even a hint of rain. Forget storm chasing. These folks are professional storm avoiders. If there's thunder on the horizon, they're not outside. They're hiding, headphones in, playlist on, waiting for the sky to chill. 29. Metathesiophobia is the fear of change. Not like, I hate switching phone chargers. We're talking existential dread over life transitions, big or small. New job? Panic? Move to the couch? Spiraling. This phobia can lead to extreme resistance even when change is necessary or beneficial. It's not about being stubborn, it's about feeling like the ground beneath them has shifted without warning. So if someone loses it over a different font in the newsletter, don't judge too fast. They might be dealing with a phobia that makes the future feel like a minefield. 30. Pediophobia is the fear of dolls. And yes, horror movies absolutely threw gasoline on this fire. Those lifeless glass eyes? That silent, eternal smile? Yeah, no thank you. For sufferers, even harmless toys can trigger cold sweats and full-body panic. Antique stores, toy aisles, and grandma's attic are basically haunted houses. Thanks to pop culture, it's hard to unsee Chucky or Annabelle once you've seen them. And even Barbie isn't off the hook. When someone with pediophobia says, "No dolls allowed," they mean it. And not just because they're anti-plastic, but because they'd like to sleep tonight. 31. Siderodromophobia is the fear of trains and railways, and it's more than just a dislike of loud whistles or long commutes. For some, even the distant sound of a train can trigger an adrenaline surge that feels like impending doom. Riding one? Out of the question. The fear might stem from past trauma, media depictions of accidents, or just the idea of being locked into a fast-moving metal tube. Either way, what others consider an efficient travel option, siderodromophobes view as a rolling panic capsule. Amtrak? More like shackles for your soul. 32. Echophobia, the fear of home, flips the concept of safe space upside down. For people with this condition, home is where the stress is. The very place meant to offer comfort becomes a source of anxiety, often due to traumatic associations, isolation, or the overwhelming pressure of maintaining the space. Imagine getting home after a long day only to feel like you're entering a haunted house. It's not laziness, it's fear baked into the walls. And don't even suggest nesting. That's like recommending a vacation in a panic attack. 33. Autophobia, the fear of being alone, goes way beyond boredom or FOMO. For some, solitude feels like suffocation. Even a few minutes without company can trigger racing thoughts, panic, or feelings of abandonment. It's not about needing constant entertainment. It's the sheer terror of being left with one's own mind. Ironically, people with autophobia might still feel lonely even with people around, because it's not just physical presence they crave, it's emotional safety. So next time someone texts you 5 times in a row just to say, hey, maybe don't leave them on read. 34. Plutophobia is the fear of wealth. Sounds fake in a world obsessed with luxury lifestyles, right? But this phobia is real and deep. For those who suffer from it, the idea of acquiring or managing large amounts of money sparks anxiety, not joy. It can be about fear of greed, moral corruption, pressure, or even losing touch with loved ones. While most dream of winning the lottery, plutophobes would rather not have the ticket at all. To them, mo money doesn't mean mo problems. It means the worst possible scenario. 35. Adicophobia is the fear of failure. And if you've ever talked yourself out of applying for that job or starting that project you actually care about, surprise, you might have brushed against it. For some, the fear is so overwhelming they avoid taking any risks at all. Dreams? Backburnered. Opportunities? Dodged like incoming dodgeballs. The worst part? It convinces people they're safer staying stuck than trying and failing. But here's a brutal truth. If you never try, you're already failing. Just slower and with fewer cool stories. 36. Anthophobia is the fear of flowers. Yes, those innocent little symbols of love and springtime can be terrifying. For anthophobes, it's not just about allergies or past trauma involving bees. It's the shapes, the textures, even the unpredictable movement in a breeze. A bouquet isn't a gift, it's a potential threat. Garden centers, panic zones, floral arrangements, anxiety bouquets. You know you're deep in this phobia when even cartoon daisies make you sweat. Mother Nature's prettiest children? Nope, just sneaky anxiety bombs in full bloom. 37. Hypengiophobia is the fear of responsibility. And no, it's not the same as procrastination. This phobia goes way deeper. For sufferers, even a minor obligation can feel like the weight of the universe. Taking care of a plant, existential crisis, signing a document, heart palpitations. It's not laziness. It's fear of screwing up, disappointing others, or being trapped in something you can't handle. While some people thrive under pressure, hypengiophobes are just trying to breathe while being crushed by a metaphorical to-do list. Adulting isn't optional, but for them, it's terrifying. 38. Geniophobia, the fear of chins, is exactly as bizarre as it sounds. And yes, it's real. For people with this phobia, chins are deeply unsettling. It might be the shape, the movement, or the perception of deformity. But whatever the trigger, the reaction is very real. Imagine trying to have a conversation while panicking at the sight of someone's jawline. Video calls? A full-on horror show. Beards can sometimes help obscure the chin, which means pogonophobia, and geniophobia would be mortal enemies. If that isn't the weirdest face-off, I don't know what is. 39. Phonophobia is the fear of loud sounds, and it turns everyday noise into an auditory minefield. Car horns, fireworks, even enthusiastic applause can send a person into a full-blown panic. For many sufferers, the fear isn't just the volume, it's the unpredictability. The startle reflex gets hijacked by anxiety. Living in a noisy city becomes a daily survival challenge. They're not overreacting to the blender, they're preparing for psychological war. Headphones aren't for music, they're armor. So if someone jumps out of their skin when you sneeze, maybe just offer a silent thumbs up. 40. Arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, is one of the most iconic and widespread phobias for a reason. It's primal, it's persistent, and for some, it's absolutely debilitating. Even cartoon spiders can be enough to trigger panic. Open a cabinet and see 8 legs? Instant evacuation protocol. It's not about the actual danger, it's about the idea of spiders. Unpredictable, lurking, and way too leggy. People have burned shoes, cars, and entire apartments just to avoid dealing with one. And don't laugh. If your brain told you a spider had taken over your sock drawer, you'd consider moving too. 41. Agoraphobia is the fear of open or public spaces. But it's not just about hating crowds or avoiding the mall during holiday season. For some, it's a full-on life disruption. Even stepping outside the house can trigger intense panic, dizziness, or the feeling of being trapped in a place they can't escape from. It's not laziness, it's not introversion. It's mental warfare at the front door. There are agoraphobes who haven't left their homes in years. Imagine needing groceries, a doctor, or just some sunshine, and your brain says, hard pass, we're safer on the couch. 42. Palatophobia, the fear of bald people, sounds like something from a parody sketch, but for those who suffer from it, it's all too real. The sight of a hairless head can cause anxiety, discomfort, or even panic attacks. This phobia isn't about fashion or preference. It's a deep-rooted, often unexplainable fear. It can complicate work, relationships, or even public outings. And imagine the stress during a Bruce Willis movie marathon. Bald heads are everywhere. You don't notice until your brain starts screaming about it. For palatophobes, every shiny dome is a crisis waiting to happen. 43. Hippopotamonstros squipedaliophobia might be the cruelest joke in the world of phobias. It's the fear of long words, and it's literally the longest word ever invented. Whoever coined this term either had a twisted sense of humor or a death wish from the dictionary. For people with this phobia, reading or hearing long, complex words can trigger anxiety or even full panic. Academic papers? A nightmare. Medical diagnoses? Forget it. It's like being afraid of clowns and forced to attend clown college. At this point, even anti-disestablishmentarianism feels like bullying. 44. Telephonophobia is the fear of talking on the phone. And before you laugh, ask yourself, when's the last time you answered a call without dread? For some, this fear goes way beyond awkward pauses or not knowing how to say goodbye. It's about performance anxiety, fear of judgment, and the pressure to respond instantly with no time to think. Texting gives you a buffer. Phone calls? That's improv with high stakes. These folks aren't being rude when they let it go to voicemail. They're avoiding what feels like a one-on-one anxiety interview. 45. Napoleon Bonaparte, the guy who conquered half of Europe, reportedly had ailurophobia, the fear of cats. That's right. A man feared on the battlefield could apparently be undone by a single meow. Historical accounts suggest he'd freeze or flee at the sight of a feline. You've got to wonder how his enemies didn't just weaponize kittens. Imagine the strategy. Forget cannons. Bring in the tabby. It's oddly comforting to know that even legendary figures had irrational fears. Makes your fear of ceiling fans seem pretty manageable, huh? 46. Selenophobia, the fear of the moon, might sound like a poetic affliction, until you realize it means avoiding looking at the sky at night altogether. For some, the sight of the moon triggers irrational terror, anxiety, nausea, or the sense that something cosmic and sinister is watching them. Full moons are especially rough. It's like their personal horror movie spotlight. They're not howling at it, they're hiding from it. While others are busy stargazing and writing love songs, selenophobes are drawing the curtains and muttering, "Nope, not tonight, moon demon." 47. Pharmacophobia is the fear of taking medicine, and it can be a serious roadblock to basic healthcare. Whether it's a pill, a syrup, or even a vitamin, sufferers experience overwhelming anxiety about side effects, addiction, or losing control of their body. Even reading the label can spark dread. While most people casually down cold meds like candy, pharmacophobes are out here thinking, "Is this how I go?" It's not ignorance. It's fear wrapped in a child-proof cap. Sadly, avoiding medication sometimes leads to the very illnesses they're trying to avoid. 48. Technophobia, the fear of technology, is the ultimate nightmare in a world where even your fridge is smarter than you. For some, using a smartphone or interacting with a touchscreen feels like entering hostile territory. It's not about being bad at tech. It's about being afraid of it. The complexity, the dependency, the potential to break things with one wrong click. If you've ever panicked while trying to mute a Zoom call or screamed at a printer, you might have had a glimpse of it. Meanwhile, tech keeps evolving, just to make sure they never feel safe. 49. Hodophobia is the fear of travel. And no, not just because of TSA lines or overpriced airport snacks. This phobia can make even short trips feel like crossing enemy lines. The packing, the unknown, the lack of control, it's a cocktail of anxiety. While others scroll Instagram dreaming of vacations, hodophobes are just trying to survive a drive to the grocery store. It can be rooted in past trauma, motion sickness, or even a fear of being far from a safe place. They're not avoiding adventure. They're trying to keep the panic attacks on the ground. If you've watched this and thought, "Well, at least I'm not that weird," let me stop you right there. You probably are. Statistically, you've got at least 3 of these fears, remember? Now hit that subscribe button like it's your emotional support trigger. And here's the real question for the comments. If your most irrational fear suddenly became contagious, what would you infect the whole world with? Go on, confess. Let's see whose anxiety would end civilization first.